Hello, you guys. It is me, Miska Dover, and I am back with another video as promised with my honey.
Hey,
and we talking about 50-50, the new hot topic, which is 50-50 relationships and how people are like, may this type of love never find me. But it's 50-50. Is that to be associated with love anyway? Like,
no.
I don't think so either. Like, may this type of love never find me, child. Trying to find somebody based off of them paying the whole bill or y'all having to go in 50-50. That's not love anyway.
Conditional.
Yeah, so I'm assuming everybody in the room knows what is going on with 50-50 relationships. And so I don't feel like there's nothing wrong with, what? I don't feel like there's nothing wrong with, being taken care of, with, being wine, dine, and lavished with gifts and things like that. Whatever your husband, whatever, however your partner or whoever want to love on you and show you love, that's their business.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah. And I say that to say, I don't feel like, just out the gate, I don't feel like it is wrong to want to be taken care of.
No.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's wrong for a woman to want her man to take care of her.
I agree.
But I feel like it gets a little murky when we come to the table, kind of like in the last video, what I said about these unrealistic expectations.
Okay.
When we come to the table with these unrealistic expectations, assuming two working class people meet and they both like, entry level, whatever field they in.
Yeah. And
you want this man to like, you trying to share your world with him halfway. You trying to halfway share your world with him. No Kim. And expecting him to like just be this ultimate, provider, to operate like he is making much more money than he is making, and not being a team player, realizing that, hey, your support may be needed in this area. Yeah. Or, hey, he might not in the future mind taking care of me at the capacity that I would like to be taken care of. But right now, this season is calling for my participation. You know what I mean? My 50-50 or whatever, however they want to, however you want to token it.
Yeah.
But, okay, go ahead. No, I was just about to ask you. So that's where my, I guess, mine is at with it. Like, girl, be realistic. Everything in due season. And sometimes we be trying to call stuff and operating stuff way before it's time, overlooking people because of what you think is love, not really being love. That's just you being selfish.
Yeah.
You being delusional. But anyway, okay, what are your top thoughts on this?
I think it's important to understand the why behind, ladies wanting to be taken care of. Why do you want to be taken care of? It's kind of like where my mind goes. And I guess what I'm trying to really say is, and what are you going to be doing while you're being taken care of? Because, God puts all of us here on earth with a purpose. And we all have work. I think we kind of talked about it a little bit in the last video that we did. But everybody has an assignment and work to do. So, what is your work, so to speak? And your work may be staying at home, taking care of the kids or taking care of the household or the family or whatever that case may be. But I think you have to figure that out first and foremost. I think a lot of people just, or women, I should say, want to be taken care of. They just don't want to work, and they don't want to have to deal with the struggle of finances or whatnot. But again, I agree with you. I don't think there's anything wrong with there's no problem with that, but I think you just have to figure out, you know, what's your motivation behind that.
Yeah. Okay. And so okay, you said you don't feel like it's anything wrong with the woman wanting to be taken care of, but they just should know what's the purpose, what's, you know, how are you spending your time, because you feel like being idle is not God's plan for us.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I don't feel like, you know, we just supposed to be here rotting away. There's a purpose, you know. The Bible says that He has given us, for all those who are called according to His plan and purpose. Yeah, He got stuff for us to do out here. So whether we want to be at a 9 to 5 or working or doing whatever, and not there's still work to be done.
Absolutely.
So how are you spending your time? How are you, you know, making sure that whatever God has called you to, you're doing that and you're operating in that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you know, the other thing that comes to mind is what does it mean to be taken care of? You know, are they referring to, you know, the husband providing?
I think
being
that's
the provider, or you know, are they referring to, I don't want to do nothing, you do it all? You know, I don't know. You know,
I think it's the provider portion.
In context, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's that. It's really more monetary. Is the stuff that I'm seeing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the stuff that I'm seeing online is like money in check, everything in order. My money don't need to be. And that's another thing. Like, I don't even know if the women want to work. You know, kind of like we talked about before we put the camera on. I don't know if they want to work and don't want their money to be mentioned or brought up at all. They just want to work and keep their stuff to themselves, or they don't want to work and, you know, want the man to foot the bill. I don't really know, but I assume that it's like from a provider standpoint, like they, you know,
it's definitely a conversation you gotta have in the beginning.
Yes, for sure. Now, how do you? I mean, I know you can't speak for every man. Every man, you know, you're only yourself, and you can only speak for yourself. But if I was to come to you and be like, I'm not with your new creation in Christ self 8 years ago, with the mind of Christ that you had, and the, you know, new outlook of the way the old things have passed and we are walking in the new. If I was to come to you and say, hey, I'm not really interested in going 50-50 with you in a relationship, I think that a man should pay everything. What do you feel like your response would have been?
I feel like, you know, I would have been up front, and I would have just kind of said, you know, I can't really build with you moving forward, because, you know, in a marriage, you're supposed to be a team. And so that means that, you know, you have to contribute to the marriage. Now, I don't have a problem taking care of my wife, you know, and because I love you, right, and I don't have a problem with that. But if I'm not working or something happens, you know, that thought process that you have tells me that if something happens to me and I can't physically go out and work, you're not going to step up for the team and do what needs to be done because you only want to be taken care of. And I have a problem with that.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that. Like, I didn't plan on asking you that, but I'm glad you said that, because that's one thing that I feel about that. You know, it's not wrong to be taken care of, but with that mentality, you are showing your hand, and with your hand got a bunch of cards in it that say selfish, out for self, me, bump you, go out your way, bend your back for me, and do all of these things and stretch yourself out for me. And I ain't got nothing for you, but my cute looks. Conditional love. But yeah, conditional love. My cute looks, my, you know, me being your arm candy or whatever, you know, the person thinks of themselves, sexual, you know, activity. Like, that's all it seemed like, you know.
Yeah, I don't want no parts of that.
And so, yeah, I feel like that's something that we should be considering when we lead or try to lead with that. Like, what are you communicating? I always talk about that. What are we saying without actually saying it?
Mm-hmm.
Read between the lines.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
kind of like what you're saying. You are not a team player. So yeah, that I feel like that is something to be
very mindful.
Yeah, mindful of. Okay. And so you would say respectfully, it's a no for me.
Yeah. We're gonna have to part ways here.
Now, funny thing is, I have never had that mentality or whatnot. But I have been super discontent, working at these jobs that I'm not called to work in and not operating in my gifts and using the talents and the skills and abilities that God has put inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
And but I was in those feeling like I shouldn't be there and I should be doing something else with my time or whatnot.
Absolutely.
Which is creating content, writing books, all the things that God has placed on the inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
But even though I felt like this is not something that I should be doing, I was still a team player.
Yeah.
And went to work, crying, kicking and screaming, going to work. And eventually Courtney was in a place to take care of the entire household by himself and release me from, working by the grace of God. Release me.
Great.
Release me from having to work a 9 to 5 so that I can focus on the things that God has called me to. And so that's some encouragement that I want to give too. Like you said, what are you doing? Why do you not want to work? Why do you not want to go 50-50? If that's your thing. I said, it's something, like I said, sometimes I don't know whether it's they want to work but want to keep their money to themselves, or if they don't want to work and want to be taken care of. But why do you not? If you're on the spectrum that says I don't want to work and I want to be taken care of, why do you want to sit on your thumbs and not do nothing? The word calls us to be fruitful, to multiply, to subdue the earth. And that's just not for a man. That's for a man.
And a woman.
Yeah, that's for man and mankind. That's what I was about to say. That's for mankind. And so whether you are working a 9 to 5 or not, we should all be being fruitful. And so, yeah, I was glad you said that as well. So, how do you feel about going 50-50 period? Now, what I believe is that each couple's finances or how they do their money, it should be how they do their money.
Yeah, what they agree on.
Yes, whatever y'all agree to, that's what it is. It shouldn't be what they doing that worked for them, what your mama and them did, what your auntie. It ain't about that. It's about you and I, what we cool with, and whatever.
Absolutely.
But how do you feel about, how do you feel like, what's your point of view on money in marriage?
My point of view on money in marriage is that your money is my money is your money.
Okay.
I've heard some pastors say, my money is my wife's money and her money is her money, but I don't necessarily agree with that, because if you won, you won.
Mm.
So whatever you have, I have. Whatever I have, you have.
Yeah.
And the same benefits that, the woman gets from taking the man's last name, the same benefits we get from taking on Christ's name.
Mm-hmm.
We get everything he's got.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like we won. Christ is one. We are his body. Yeah. He's the head, we the body, but it's one. So for me, the money needs to come to the middle, so to speak.
Yeah. Or
into that one account. Like as we, talked about maybe a week or so ago, we were talking about this. I feel like all monies that come in from income need to go into one account. Now, if you want, to have your separate money, which I think you should have your own separate money to spend how you choose to spend your money. Mm-hmm. I think you need to have your own separate account. So, you get a checking account, the income comes into the checking account. The wife has her own account, the husband has his own account, and then you guys have a savings account or whatever, and you know each of you get an allowance every pay or whatever, however you guys decide that. But you have your own money to spend how you want or to save how you want, you know. And I think to your point, you know, when you were saying the 50-50, and some of the women, you know, wanting to say my money is my money and I'm gonna spend it on whatever, and you pay all the bills. Well, you get your money to spend how you want. You know what I mean? But I feel like, for me, I just feel like, you know, all the money comes in one pot, and we as a team decides what we gonna do with our money.
Okay. Now I'm married to you, so of course that's my opinion as well. But so to clarify, you view everything as we are one flesh.
Absolutely.
If we are married, we together and we're one. So it's no his or her, his and hers, it's ours.
Absolutely.
So do you feel like 50-50 is like divisive?
That's a good word. We just picked up today in church. I think it is. I think it is, and I think it's implanted, you know, by the enemy, because he hates marriage, he hates unity and oneness, and I think a lot of marriages or relationships fail because of finances and not being able to manage finances.
Yeah.
You know, we all have our flaws financially. That, you know, we areas where we can grow or improve, you know. But absolutely, the money is ours. Yeah. You know, we're one. It's ours. Now, after it comes in, how we divvy that up is what we decide as a team. You know, and everybody's divvy or situation looks different. You have to figure out what works for you, and what's acceptable to you, I should say. Yeah. But yeah, that's, you know, my thoughts.
Okay. And so like I said, I agree. Of course, we're together, so this is how we operate, and I understand, you know, that not everybody is gonna like that, be cool with that, or, you know, operate the same way. But I feel like there is something that can be taken away from it, whether it, you know, you are cool with it or not, which is we should be on one accord, and going. If we are one flesh, going all in, withholding nothing.
Absolutely. And,
you know, being in this thing together for real, and not just leaving one person out there to, you know, hang.
Like even our accounts, you know, if you don't mind me sharing, but even our personal accounts, I can see her transactions, she can see my transactions. There's transparency. It does make it a little difficult when you're trying to, you know, buy gifts or something for someone, you know, because they can see your transactions. But at the end of the day, you know, marriage is about intimacy, and intimacy only comes through transparency. So you can't hide things, and we're talking about finances, but I mean, all around. But as we talk about finances, that's one thing you definitely want to be, you know, transparent about, because that'll break up friendships and anything.
And even with the transparency, sometimes it get a little tight. You be like, all right, nah, you know. So imagine being in the dark about, you know, what's going on financially, and being, you know, made to feel like you just don't got no teammate, you ain't got no partner in this thing, in this person. They just want to reap the benefits of your labor and not, you know, be a team player. At the end of the day, that's what marriage is about, being a team player.
Absolutely.
And with this whole 50-50 thing, it just seems like people want to, you know, be the owner of the team.
And plus, you know, I heard something, not to cut you off, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I heard something a little, maybe a couple weeks ago. Marriage is never 50-50. Marriage, at some point in your time, marriage could be 60-40. It could be 70-30. It might be 70-30 my way. You know, I'm doing more at this point in our marriage, or it may be, you know, 25-75 her way. She's doing more in this season of our marriage. You know, the seasons change, and, you know, people change and we need different things in our marriage, and you know, sometimes you're required to carry a heavier load than your husband or your spouse. And I think you got to keep that in mind. That's the whole love factor.
Right.
You know, for sickness or health, for better or for worse, whatever's going on with the other person, you know, you have to be able to pick up that slack. So it's never 50-50 anyway.
Yeah.
I figured I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. No, that's good. So yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this conversation with me and my honey. Our take on 50-50 relationships, or 50-50, I don't know, child. Providers, situations, sponsors. I don't know what y'all want, but keep in mind that your actions, keep in mind what you're saying without actually saying it, the outlook, the perspective that one can say you have by what you're requiring and requesting. You know what I mean? It matters. You speak the things that you lead with, you letting the person know what you about, who you are. And men, I feel like, I don't know, I ain't met every man on earth, but I just, from my experience, I feel like y'all be wanting that not ride or die, but you know, that ride, because I'm not dying, but you know what I mean? Y'all quick to think more along the lines of, dang, when stuff go this way, you know, y'all want to be sure that you have somebody
that's going to hold you down.
Yeah, that's going to hold you down. And for a woman to just come in the picture talking about what she ain't finna do, not to say that they have to be a pick-me and be cool with every little thing or anything, but if you're trying to be somebody's help me, why does God even call it a help me if we ain't supposed to be helping? You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, be careful what you are communicating without communicating it.
If you're trying to get married.
Yeah, if you're trying to get married.
You may not be looking for that.
And I ain't saying just be cool with anything or lower your standards, lower your expectations, because you can make a plan for exiting work, or, you know, be willing to make a plan for different things and not just coming in with your hands up talking about what you're not finna do. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to add before I wrap it up again?
I think I would just say, you know, we live in a microwave society, but sometimes you need a conventional oven.
Come on,
type
analogy.
Of cook, you know, because sometimes it takes time to get where you want to get. And, you know, nobody's saying that you're wrong in wanting some of the things that you want, but be patient and allow the oven to cook. Yes,
that's kind of what I was saying. For a plan of exit, a plan of strategy, we be wanting stuff right now, right then, in that moment. But girl, it might not be that season for it right now. Put in the work, and then, you know, allow God to relieve you from that when He's ready for you to be relieved from that, and not stop, you know, allowing your flesh to rise up and control what's going on.
Everything don't cook the same in the microwave.
Yeah. You so silly. All right, y'all. Again, we are out. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, let us know by liking the video, commenting, subscribing to the channel. And until next time, we will holler at y'all. Bye.
Peace.